Welcome to the Building Savages podcast.
New favorite fitness podcast.
I'm your boy Terrence, aka Building Beast.
I'm Evan Perez, aka EP.
On this podcast, we talk to our fellow coaches, athletes, and everyday gym goers about health, fitness, business, entrepreneurship, self growth, and so much more. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe, or
We'll find you and make you smash the subscribe button. Hope you enjoyed today's topic. Like, what does your mobility training look like?
I'm glad you asked that. Like, being with, and it's funny, we had Steve on here last year. We were talking about like working with combat athletes, and they are always hurt.
Oh my
Their
god!
bodies
I
thick.
also can't punch in the fucking face all the time. So that doesn't.
Punch, and I work with Muay Thai, so they're getting elbowed and
Yeah.
kicked and sweeped and shit like that. So and mobility is something that I've been into, but I think over the past year, like I've definitely dialed in on it a little bit more, and I just been following a lot of cool information that just kind of paints a different perspective of mobility.
Yeah.
So like mobility literally is just strength training. A lot of us think about mobility as like these long, deep stretching sessions, and it's like that's not entirely it. Mobility is just controlled range of motion, active range of motion through a given exercise, a given range, a given joint capacity, or whatever the case is. So I've really been prioritizing mobility in every single workout now a little harder than I was before. So I've actually been cutting down the workout times for people. And especially in a population that I work with, like you can get so much done between 40 and 45 minutes. So it
Mhm.
allows me to spend another 5 to 10 on mobility at the end of a workout.
Nice.
And I've already trained with moving in like, rotation, all the planes of motion that we spoke about, rotation, lateral movement, single leg, like all of these things. So now just I'm programming less and more efficient, and now putting mobility more in the forefront, a part of the skeleton than I feel like I've ever done before.
Yeah.
And I've been noticing really big changes and gains for everybody.
Mhm.
And like my motto this year is for everybody to be strong and durable, you know.
Love it.
And it's just I don't want people walking around feeling like they're beat up and in so much pain. Like I really want to start changing that narrative more because I have a mindset of fitness forever.
Mhm.
So pain is one of the most debilitating and demotivating things that someone can experience, and you can see how that can play into the psyche of someone over time. Just maybe just them not prioritizing training as much because they're always hurting and they don't see
Yeah.
another way.
Yeah.
So I choose anywhere between minimum one, maximum three exercises, because I think where a lot of us sometimes go wrong when trying to add mobility into our training is feeling like we need to do so many moves. And
Yeah.
it's just like less is more. Do 1 to 3 exercises, 3 to 5 reps, keep it slow, really focusing on what that movement is. And if you're doing any pauses or isometric holds in some of these patterns, then 3 to 5 second holds. So you can just really be intentional on what you're trying to do. And I think also finding ways to progress certain mobility movements too. Like
Yeah.
our typical 90-90 that we do a lot. You can play around with doing extensions through there, doing switches. I found a cool drill where you take the rear leg and then you just kind of like swing it around front without letting the rear leg touch the ground, and
Oh
then
yeah.
bringing it back into that 90. Little stuff
Yeah.
like that just to kind of put people through more challenging things and really getting them to appreciate mobility a little bit more. And then they're starting to find so many little like areas that like, oh wow, this feels like it's about to cramp, or wow, I didn't know I was so locked up here or whatever. And then afterwards it's like, shit, I feel like I'm 15 years later, 15 years younger.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, we're on to something now.
Exactly. I think the way I kind of like explain mobility myself is about intention.
Mm-hmm.
So, and being super intentional with your movements, and a lot of it is, I mean, through strength training, like get accessing full ranges of motion, like squatting to depth. Everybody can squat to depth. Sometimes you need the extra help of a box, elevating your heels just to open up your hips, like full range of motion of your shoulders, like getting in a dead hang position when you guys are doing your pull-ups, really stretching out those shoulders, or like maybe like getting at the bottom range of motion of your shoulders when you guys are rowing. like accessing that kind of like stretch at the bottom, like the capacity that people have to do all that stuff, and it's really easy to do it under load, but like people are so scared of like twisting or rotating. Like those are natural movements that you have to go through, and the only way to get resilient at that is to actually do it. And
Yeah.
like you rather do it in a safe space that is the fucking gym than doing it like when you're picking and bending over like a box and like you're like, oh, I can't pick that up and I just broke my back. Like you don't want to do that. Like, people be like, oh my back. Like
Can you
but yeah,
imagine breaking your back from picking up a box?
I mean, bro, like people. I've seen people do dumb shit. So like, I haven't seen that, but I've seen people like hop off like a 12-inch box and like trip and fuck and bust their
Yeah.
ass. It's like so
Yeah.
it's stupid things. But you don't have to. I think the thing is too is like you don't have to do like you said like these stretchings and stuff like that. It is important. I think people should do them,
They
but
should.
it's not the only way to practice mobility. And I think that's what you were saying before. It's not the only way to access more mobility and more range of motion. And also the thing is like it's the same thing with like progressing that people forget is like to get stronger, to build muscle, to get leaner, to lose fat, you have to progressively overload. To
Mhm.
get better at mobility, you have to progressively overload in the movements. Even abs, like people forget, like doing 10,000 abs or 10,000 sit-ups doesn't get you any more abs, but maybe adding weight to the movement or adding a different stimulus to the movement progressively moves you forward. So I think people need to remember that just with anything else, you need to progressively overload or progressively move forward in your mobility and access different ranges of motion and be okay. Like experiment in the gym. That's the fucking point of the gym is to experiment and move around.
And we should
But
stay there real quick too. What you
yeah,
said
go.
about the like for strength, you judge how much tension you create or how much force you can move in terms of you progressing there. In
Mm,
mobility, it's kind of the opposite. The more range you start to um, acquire, now starts to show the progression of something that you're able to do.
yeah,
So for mobility, you should be you also don't want to be too randomized with it. Like first you need to identify what's actually a problem area because
yeah,
sometimes we just stretch things that don't really need to be stretched or we just kind of mobilize in areas and just kind of go through the motion and it's just like, well, you're hypermobile there or you have adequate range of motion there. Maybe you don't have to spend so much time in that area. Maybe you should fixate more, let's say, on your thoracic spine because you've been having problems doing some rotation. Being
yeah,
that you know that that's an issue for you now, get to it. Don't waste time stretching your hamstrings if your hamstrings are completely fine and flexible. Now you're just kind of wasting time at that point. You
exactly.
need to be prioritizing your thoracic mobility. So let's say you take a basic open book where you're laying on your side, knees are together, and you go to rotate and try to get your opposite side shoulder to touch the ground. If it can't touch the ground, then now you know your goal over time is to get your shoulder to touch the ground.
Mhm.
So now you kind of have something to measure to see if one, is this a smoother exercise for me to do over time? um am I able to go through full range of motion with this exercise over time, and am I able to control that range of motion over time? So these are three things that you can kind of measure in whatever mobility move or whatever mobility program you have to see if you've made progress, opposed to just like unintentional stretching without any kind of rhyme or reason or goal of what you're trying to get out of this.
Yeah, I think, and it goes back to intention. I have a thing. So like, in our new program. So first off, the way that you're supposed to be mobilizing is actually using some trigger point or some foam roller. So the trigger point and foam roller will let you access more range of motion and let you actually stretch differently, give you a little bit more length in whatever that you're rolling. You stretch it out and then you do your mobilizations. So I tell people it's like we're not on this foam roller for shits and gigs. Work on the fucking shit you need to work on. We're not doing open books for no reason. Stretch, reach, rotate,
Yeah.
do as much as you can. Like you should be intentionally opening up those open books and rotate. I hate people that flop around. If you're
Yeah.
flopping around in your mobility stuff, first off, if you can flop around in your mobility stuff, first off, it's too easy.
Mhm.
Like you're not doing anything. And second off, like you should be progressing if you're able to access that much range of motion.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna
Just
make it
plan in
harder.
your progressions to these mobility
Oh my God.
exercises we speak of.
4 days.
Yeah.
So Like really start being intentional with your foam rolling, with your reaching, with your rotating, with your stretching, with your hip cards. Like every exercise that you can do, take it as seriously as you do a 315 back squat, a fucking heavy ass bench. Like if you take it as seriously as you do with the strength training stuff, like you're gonna be able to be more mobile and access that range of motion. Even on top of that, like the back squat and the front squat will even look better. So if you are restricted, like if you're restricted, you're gonna have trouble like accessing and getting stronger anyway. So might as well take it seriously enough so you can get stronger and get to your actual goals.
Yeah.
So it's all is cohesive.
I think I think one way to just to put it, just to give some people some, perspective on why it's so important to do mobility, you literally just want to do it so you can safely and enjoy the things that you want to do.
Yeah.
You
And not
know,
even
so
the
that's
gym in life. If
yeah,
you want
just
to
in
get
life, honestly. So I always tell people that with the mobility, it's like, all right, look at your lifestyle or look at the things that you compete in. If you want to continue to do these things, then you want to make sure that you have a healthy, durable body to continue whatever activity that this is at
Mhm,
this level or even at a higher level that you're already doing. And if you're
exactly.
not prioritizing some of these softer skills to make sure that you can do some of the harder skills, then you're going to over time you're going to run into so many little chronic things and possibly acute things if
Yeah.
a lot of things are compensating in the wrong way. And one thing that I've been telling my athletes lately is 10 minutes of mobility a day really takes you a long way.
Mm,
And a lot of us think we need to do like 2 hour mobility sessions to really get good effect. That's not to say that long mobility sessions don't work because they definitely do work. But realistically, who's doing an hour of mobility on a daily basis? Nobody.
not
So,
mine,
what I
sure.
tell people is if you can dedicate 10 minutes a day, that comes out to 70 minutes a week, which comes out to roughly 300 minutes a month. That's a lot of intention and a lot of effort that you're putting forth to mobilizing yourself.
Yeah.
300 minutes a month is going to add up to crazy amounts of mobility gains.
Mhm.
And just 10 minutes a day.
Yeah.
Don't miss a day. Don't and even if you do miss a day, don't feel like you need to go over the top with the next day. If you could just dedicate yourself to 10 minutes of mobility a day in your troublesome areas, and if you on top of that have massage therapy that you do, physical therapy, or any type of myofascial release things that you go to weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly, then
Mhm.
this is just going to add on to all that mobility work that you've been doing, which is even going to make those visits that you go to even more worth it.
Exactly. And I think for people to understand, it's really 10 minutes, it sounds like a lot, I think, to a lot of people, and we can always minimize that. But it's really easy to access ranges of motion when you also sit behind a desk all day. Easy thing
True.
is sit on the ground. Get a 90-90, do a couple wipers.
Yeah.
If you have struggle with your ankles, walk barefoot more often. Like that's some extra work. Work on your tiptoes, work on your heels on the outsides of your foot, the insides of your feet. If you have thoracic mobility issues, like lay down on the foam roller that you like foam rollers are like what, $15-$20? Like it doesn't fucking it's not
Yeah,
it
they're
ain't that
very
bad.
cheap today.
Like literally open, close, rotate, like move in different planes of motion. And that just takes you 5 minutes. You can do that right before bed. Like it's really not as difficult as people make it seem, and it's not like it's gonna get you a sweat. It's gonna make you feel better, which will,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, allow you to do more shit that you guys enjoy. And I think that's like you said, and I'm gonna use this from now on. You want to be, it's fitness forever. Like you want to be fit forever. You want to be able to do the stuff that you enjoy. Like it starts now, and especially like a lot of us are like that are watching this or listen to us are like in their 30s. Like if you struggle to get up the bed and you make a deep ass like gasp when you have to sit up and sit back down, like it's about time you sit on the fucking floor a little bit.
Hmm.
I mean, just like fucking just play around like 99, you do a couple of things, like open up those hips a little bit, bro. Because if you're struggling now, bro, like at 90, you're gonna need the walker. As far as I know, bro, I'm still running at 70, 80 years old. I mean,
Man, I just ran into this page the other day of a 60-year-old woman doing flexed hangs for 30 seconds ISO. And
Jesus.
it was something so cool that she put. She's working on plyometric skills.
Yeah.
She's in her 60s. She's in great shape, bro. Great, great, great shape. And
Yeah.
she was like, I'm training for plyometrics in my 60s because in my 80s I want to be able to do agility.
I love
She's
that.
thinking 20 years ahead.
Yeah.
amazing page. I have to send it to you,
Yeah,
but
send it to me.
it's important, man. It's just that durability and just like having that fitness forever mentality, and it's just one of these pieces that is just important that you incorporate, especially for my very very competitive athletes, very very heavy lifters, and my office workers, man. A
Mhm.
lot of us, if you fall on any of those spectrums, honestly anybody, because everybody compensates in some way,
Yeah,
whatever your lifestyle is, or whatever, yeah, whatever you do in terms of your lifestyle, you're going to compensate in some areas more than someone might in another lifestyle. So it's just a matter of those areas that I might compensate a little bit more, I need to do a little more tender love and care activities and bring more attention to them on a daily basis to make sure that I'm keeping these areas healthy.
exactly. Yeah, if you want to live forever, do what you enjoy forever, not get hurt and be bulletproof, like make sure you're actually mobile enough to do the things that you enjoy.
Closing remarks.
Yeah, that was my closing remarks. I thought that was good. I don't know. You just making
uh
me feel like it.
I'll leave you guys with this. Try to do some sort of daily mobility and just realize like adding a little bit to that bank every day is just gonna increase. This is
Yeah,
gonna increase how much you get through on a weekly basis and how much you get through on a monthly basis. Just 10 minutes of mobility, 1 to 3 exercises, 3 to 5 reps, or 3 to 5 minutes per exercise will take you a very long way.
yeah. All I gotta say is most of you motherfuckers don't sit on the floor enough to sit on the floor. Like, if you want to take reps and sets, man, you sit on the floor. A lot of times you'll move into a 99. You'll twist, you'll turn, you'll do more. Like, sit on the floor. That's why the Asian culture like can fucking when they're 60 or they're 50 or whatever, they can squat to full range of motion and have no problems because they sit on the fucking floor. Sit.
All
Trust
right,
me.
guys. Thanks for listening to another episode. And if you don't walk away with anything here, prioritize 5 to 10 minutes from of daily mobility.
Yeah. Yes, sir.